Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, it's me, DJ Ross in Mountain View, California.
Each week here on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week we're playing Cocoon, and we are checking out the cracked Nitro Deck.
Oh, what is that? That sounds dangerous.
One of our legendary hardware reviews here on Video Game Hangover.
We reviewed a lot of hardware on here. I guess.
I mean,
maybe not legendary, maybe more like mythical.
Our infrequent hardware reviews, yeah.
Yeah, in terms of how often they come around.
Yeah. We've done this long enough that quite a bit of hardware has come out in the duration of the time that we've done this.
Yes, yes. We survived the Vita.
We did, and the Wii U. As we get new toys, we talk about them. Right? I mean, it's not like a foundational strategy or anything like that, but it's on brand.
Sure. It is video game related.
It is. It's not like I bought a new record player and I want to tell you guys about it for 45 minutes.
Got some new tires for my car this weekend.
People don't buy new tires. Is that a thing people buy?
I don't know. Are you supposed to buy new tires?
I never have.
No? Well, you just find new tires on the side of the road?
That's where tires come from.
Just well, my tires are real worn down. Time to buy a new car.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds like something I would do.
To be done with the car right around the time that the tires need to be replaced.
Okay. Well, that's very efficient of you.
No, but that's valuable. I've had company cars for most of my adult life, so I've not had to think about such things. The company
I see.
Takes care of that.
The company takes care of the tires.
Yeah. But the job I have now, I have my own car and I use it for work, so I get whatever support with that.
Well, let me tell you, at some point you're gonna have to make a decision about tires.
I'm gonna have to make tires, a priority. That's disappointing.
Oh, it's not the worst thing in the world.
How long do you get with tires? 1 million miles?
You're asking me.
Miles?
You're asking who? What do you expect me to say?
DJ, in your trips between your desk and the couch, how many tires do you go through in a year?
Let me just ask a resident automotive expert.
These are the kinds of questions.
my last pair of tires is in 2 tires. The last set of tires I had lasted 500,000 miles.
Oh, fantastic!
And you can take that to the bank.
Your last pair of tires. See, here's the dilemma.
Yeah,
I'm
so
talking about a car.
The other pair only lasted 25 feet.
Yeah. Oh, I thought maybe you just had a bicycle and somehow didn't know it.
Oh, no, I had one of those 2-wheeler automobiles.
One of those 3-wheel things I see driving around Harrisburg that the people who bought them presumably think it looks cool, but we all think you look like low-rent Batman.
Oh, I would love one of those 3-wheel things.
You think so? I think they're silly.
Sight unseen. I've seen some 3-wheeled vehicles. I think I would like one. The thing I'd be worried about is just getting pancaked by somebody in an enormous pickup truck.
Yeah.
They tend to be on the small side. But hey, that way you're saving, 25% on tire replacements. So maybe that's the way to go if you have anxiety about tire replacements.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Your little street rod Batmobile type thing really only requires 3 tires, so you're somehow 25% better than me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait. Is that how it works?
I'm not sure. I'm not good at math.
Do I mean fewer tires equals better?
You're a better person.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So these are the kinds of questions people might want to save up for our year-end call-in question show. If you need automotive advice. Save it for the Drunkacular. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. We do always ask people to send in their automotive questions. And thankfully nobody does. So it's been a good show for the last few years.
Yes. We have kept it consistently entertaining.
Yeah. Like I said, Nitro Deck, video game related, so we're allowed to talk about it on here. Everything else save for the Drunkacular.
So we've been off the grid for a little bit. We took a couple weeks off here because of things, pressing issues, social engagements. Yeah.
We're back now, though.
Life. Yeah. We're here to do this thing. We sort of remember how to do it.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
It's
like riding a 3-wheeled bike.
It is exactly like that. We've missed some Prime like spooky game season, and we've missed some Prime Extra Life hype season.
Oh yeah, no, I'm very upset about this actually.
Yeah. So we should get it in now.
Yes. Which one first?
Extra Life. That seems the most pressing.
That's true. Coming up sooner than it was several weeks ago. Last time we talked about it. On Saturday, November 4th, we will be playing video games all day in support of children's hospitals in your neighborhoods or in our neighborhoods. One of those. But we hope you will tune in. We'll be streaming all day. We have information on the games we'll be playing and how you can join in with us on the website if you go to VGHangover.com/extralife. And while you're there, you can maybe send us a few bucks in support of said children's hospitals. That'd be terrific. If you can't, or you're unable to for whatever reason, that's totally fine too. But you can still hop by the stream. We always appreciate people who just swing by and say hello, sort of cheer us on as it gets very late into the evening and we're still playing video games. Oh, what a commitment. But no, it's a lot of fun. We hope that if you have some time this Saturday, you will stop by and see what we're up to, because it's kind of a, I don't know, it's like a big deal event. It's one of the biggest events that we participate in every year. So I'm looking forward to it quite a bit.
It is sort of like on the video game hangover calendar. It is definitely one of our holidays that we observe and make a big deal out of. This will be our 10th year participating in this thing. So yeah, it's a bit of a 10th anniversary celebration.
Yeah.
You're a much better streamer than I am. You're a much more semi-consistent streamer than I am. I really only do it once or twice a year. And this is one of those times. So if at any point you ever wanted to see me on screen trying to stumble my way through some video game, Extra Life is prime viewing opportunity.
Yes, so, it's worth it for that alone. Just tune in to see Randy doing whatever he's going to be doing.
Yep. So yeah, just clear your calendars. Saturday, November 4th. We will have lots of information up on the blog and in our Discord. And we hope you cheer us on, play along with us. If you want to join our team, that's certainly an option as well. If you participate in Extra Life and want to join forces with Video Game Hangover, we'd love to have folks from the community play along with us, and we can pool our funds and deliver an even bigger donation to the Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So you can do that. When you sign up for Extra Life, there is an option to join a team. Just select Video Game Hangover from the list.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. DJ is our coach, our captain. DJ is our captain.
Our coach. Yeah. No, if you just go to that URL, all the information is there. There's a big join team button. Makes it super easy for you.
And all day long on Saturday, November 4th, we have to call DJ Captain DJ.
Oh, is that true?
Yep. And we have to salute him anytime he comes into the room.
Oh, okay. Well, gonna be in the same room all day, so I don't know how often that'll happen.
Should be good. Have you given any thought to how you want to spend your day? What games you're thinking about playing on the big Extra Life game day?
I'm considering playing some Street Fighter 6 because that's been something I've been kind of sitting on. I haven't really gotten into it at all. As usual, I will be doing a retro block early in the morning. Still sort of up in the air when I'll be playing for that. And then one of my favorites, the spooky block, late in the evening. I'll be playing, I think, one of the latest games from Chilla's Art. I played a bunch of their games last year. They're very terrifying. And then I might also play Dredge, the spooky fishing game.
Oh, nice. I love that game.
So, yeah, that's about as far as I've gotten with the schedule. But as we figure out more details, we will put them up on the website at VGHangover.com/extralife, so you can go see if there's something you're interested in watching.
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I am in agreement that you should do that.
All right, so that's Saturday, November 4th. Don't forget.
Save the date.
Yeah. And then speaking of spooky games, last year I had a great time streaming on Spooky Saturday every Saturday in October. I would just pick some random sort of like spooky adjacent game. Some of them were actually quite scary. Some of them not scary whatsoever. But just, due to everything that's been going on, like we took the last couple of weeks off because I was traveling and then I was sick for a week. Just haven't been able to make the time for it. And we're running out of spooky season. So I was lobbying to get spooky season extended, just add a couple more weeks into October this year. But couldn't figure out how to make that happen.
No word from the governor on that. We haven't been able to get that across the finish line. No,
we're still waiting for the phone call. But I have a couple Sundays left, because I had to move it to Sunday because of other scheduling conflicts, in which I will hopefully be playing this game that I don't know how to pronounce. It's like Mundan.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like just a spooky hand-drawn adventure game. And then I'm also considering playing Sweet Home, which is an old NES game, which is considered to be sort of the precursor to the Resident Evil series, or sort of like what inspired that series to come to exist.
Nice.
I've always been very curious about it because, I never played an NES game that I would consider scary in sort of any dimension, so should be interesting. So, barring any more schedule conflicts, that should be happening on the next 2 upcoming Sundays. And you can get more information on that also at VGHangover.com. Just go to the show post and get all the info about Spooky Sunday.
Cool. We also have a streaming alerts channel on our Discord. So if you join the Discord, you will get alerts if you opt into them every time one of us starts streaming a video game. And 98% of the time, it is DJ who is streaming a video game. So,
but you really want to make sure you got the notifications in case it's Randy, because that's
just in case, right? Sure. You do not want to miss the moment where it's sort of like, Randy Recht is streaming something? Yeah. I can't miss this. I have to see this right now.
He accidentally hit the start stream button again.
That's exactly it. And it's me just like cleaning up my Google Drive or something. So yeah, cool. We got a couple of good weeks of spooky games. We've got the big Extra Life holiday coming up on November 4th, and that about does it. We'll quit while we're on top.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm dying, Randy.
Are you dying?
I'm dying out here.
Don't die, DJ. We need you. Just because in the 10 years or plus that we've done this, I've not figured out how to produce it myself. So,
okay.
Yeah, your services are required. I hope you're on the mend. You sound better.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. No, I'm talking about so I'm in this raid group in Final Fantasy, right? You know this.
Sorry, was that out loud? I apologize.
But no, this has been going on for a while now.
Yep.
And this is the first time I've been in one of these like formal groups. Usually, like if I want to raid, I do it with random people online who I just meet spur of the moment kind of stuff.
And this is the group that you had your kind of revelatory playthrough of one of these big boss battles earlier in the year.
Yeah, sort of. So yeah, earlier this summer, a bunch of us got together and we cleared one of the ultimate raids, which was very exciting. And after that, a few of them said, hey, a few of us are going to stick around. We're going to do the new Savage raids that are just about to come out, which are the usual sort of like high difficulty raids. And I thought, well, I'd like to do that. I've had a pretty good experience with this static group. Plus, everybody seems to know what they're doing. We cleared the ultimate pretty quickly, so maybe I'll just, up to this point, it's been my one rule in this game, is just never schedule anything. Never get to the point where there's like scheduled Final Fantasy on my calendar. I always just want it to be, whenever I feel like, and not have to be obligated to other people. Not have to be obligated to 7 other people specifically, because that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, that's like a lot of schedules that you're impacting if you are flaky or
yes. Yeah, exactly. So
just not
I don't need to deal with that. But I was like, you know what? I've had such a good experience with this ultimate group, and plus, more selfishly, the job I play specifically really benefits from having this consistent setup. So sure, why not? Let's do it. So the new tier of Savage raids came out. And we get in there and we clear the first raid in like 3 days, which, compared to my previous experience is super fast. And I'm just like, oh man, this is it. This is the group. We're just going to have this whole thing done. I can go back to whatever else I was doing. It's going to be great. That was in June, and we still haven't cleared the whole thing. What is going on? What happened to those people who I was, excited about raiding with? And I was so confident we were going to clear the tier in record time. And now I'm just logging in a few days a week just to be like, oh my God, maybe this will be the week. Maybe this will be the last time that we get in here and try and beat this boss. Oh my God.
But you're struggling. It's not going as well as you had hoped.
I don't know what's going on. Like, we cleared the first couple floors very quickly. The first one especially, I was just like, oh, yes. And then, I don't know if it was just like, we definitely had a few off weeks, like people were busy. There are a lot of people on the team, so sometimes people just have other stuff to do.
It happens.
Sometimes people get sick.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, what is taking so long? I don't feel like this tier is significantly more difficult than other tiers I've cleared. And that was with like the random groups. Who knows what was going on in those groups? Like, I feel like I've played with a lot of these people before. I generally think that, they're pretty good at the game. But there have been some nights where we'll be at it for a few hours. And I just think to myself, man, if I had run into this group in Party Finder, which is like, the random matching sort of mode, like, I think I would have peaked out after an hour and a half. I don't think I would have made it to the end of the night. So I don't know what to do anymore.
So are you selling out your team here? Is that what you're saying? Is just not feeling the camaraderie? You not feel like they're progressing at the level which you would expect?
Well, it's tough. I mean, that's the case.
Is there a possibility they're listening to this right now and are very angry?
No, that nobody's listening to this.
Okay.
But they're
hey, that's not nice.
No, nobody on the team's listening to this.
Okay, all right.
Names and identities have been changed to protect the people involved. But I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. It's hard to narrow down. Is there a weak link? Is there just some mechanic? Well, I mean, there have been some bosses that have given us an exceptional amount of trouble, and I just am struggling to understand what the deal is. But I feel like I'm just stuck in this group forever.
Can I advance a theory?
Can you advance a theory? Oh,
yes.
Yes. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
They enjoy your company so much that they are throwing the game to keep you around.
Just steps into the bottomless pit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could be it.
And they get one more week to sort of bask in your glory.
Yeah. Well, that's a very kind theory. I'm not sure how I would feel if that was what was going on. I'd be like, well, I wish you guys had told me. I would have stuck around and we could do other things.
Something more productive, perhaps. Yeah.
No, it's tough though. I feel like a lot of the group are like friends who had played other games before this. So It's hard to when you can tell somebody is not really pulling the weight, it's tough to call them out because you don't want to cause any drama there. Because at the end of the day, we're not a crazy, hardcore raid group. It's mostly a bunch of friends just playing because they enjoy the game. Although I'm getting the sense, especially over the last few weeks, that maybe some people are getting a little tired of it. So I don't know what to do.
Is there some protocol for breaking up with your raid group? Have you been in this scenario before where you've sort of had a weekly standing thing with other gamers and have to say, listen, guys, it's not real working out. I want to see other people.
Exactly. Yeah. No, like I was saying, this is my first time where I'm second time, I guess, in a group like this. The first one went so well. I did not anticipate being in the situation for the second one, but on some level, I'm just oh, well, at least now I'm getting the full sort of raid drama experience of being in this dysfunctional group that can't clear the tier. But I don't know what to do. We're so close to the end, but it's so disheartening to come back and just be oh, back to phase 1. Yeah, and I don't want to be the one that breaks up the group because that would be terrible. I would feel bad about that, although it might be good for my sanity at this point. That's probably what the sensible person would do.
I mean, if you're just spinning your wheels and it doesn't feel like it's worth your time, or you're not making the progress that you want. Yeah, I think break it to them gently. Like, I have a new commitment every whatever night and won't be able to do this anymore. I'm so sorry. Best of luck without me. My friend Randy will step in for me.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, see, the problem with that then is then I had to find a new group, and then you have to like.
I mean, that could be a lie. Oh, okay. What you're saying is you still want to do the thing. You just don't want to do it with these people.
Well, I mean, maybe I do want to do it with these people, but then I want to like make progress.
But you want to do it.
Yeah, at some point, like I really want to just finish the tier.
Yeah.
Like, I'm actually still having a pretty good time. It's weird that it's taken this long. That's the part I can't figure out. Like, why did the skill level drop suddenly after the ultimate raid?
It's not that this objective is harder than the previous one.
It's a little weird because the one we did, it's like, in theory, it's more difficult, but it's also very, very old at this point, so it's just gotten easier. I think
in practice, it's more difficult too, clearly.
Yeah, yes. Oh, weird. Yeah, so I mean, this one, it's not supposed to be more difficult, but just because it's more recent, it is, it's much more difficult.
Got it.
But yeah, I don't know. I just had to vent. I'm still, like, enjoying it. It's still fun to have, I mean, I said I didn't want to schedule stuff. It is kind of fun to just be like, oh, 7 o'clock, time to play a Final Fantasy with the group.
Yeah.
But just like, it keeps like running into other things on my calendar. And I was like, there was that, the trip that I went on. I was like, well, surely we will be done by this and I won't have to, cancel because of this. And I'm like, well, looks like we're running over. And now it's like Extra Life coming up. Surely we'll have cleared my Extra Life. And now that is looking iffy, so surely we'll be done by, Christmas vacation, and, everybody will go their separate ways. But we'll just see how we're doing when that rolls around.
Man, what if you could schedule a session with your group during Extra Life and you guys hit it that day? Just
that would be incredible.
Full tilt while the world is watching. You stomp this thing.
That'd be pretty good.
All right. My money's on that.
I don't know if I would want to stream it though. Like I can, like it. We haven't had any real actual dysfunction during a meetup or whatever, but I can tell some people are just like, they turn their microphone off. I'm just like, oh, that's not a good sign.
Well, good. I mean, at least it hasn't sort of devolved into like, petty fighting or nonsense. It's everybody's still an adult, right? And you're
right. Yeah, nobody's gotten divorced yet.
Still doing the thing. You just haven't made the progress you want.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's a mature and civilized way to approach it.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I feel like we're all civilized adults, so that's what I would like to, that's what I would expect. So
sure.
It's a little weird. It's not like being, in a softball league or something. Like you just meet up a few times a week and play softball. But you don't have this ultimate goal. Like, okay, in 2 months we have to beat the ultimate softball boss. Otherwise, we're just going to keep doing this forever. Like, I'm struggling to come up with a sort of an analog for it.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, oh man, how long did I commit to getting myself into this group?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you think of like, poker night or, what are some of the other things like family game night? Like, it's not necessarily about, we're going to do this every Tuesday at 8 p.m. until we're, you know what I mean? Until we've done something.
Poker.
Right. Until, yes, one of us is the poker king of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. It's a pretty sort of finite experience, and you come back the next week and basically relive that experience again. I suspect most of that is about just being social.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's fun just hanging out, but I can tell tensions are definitely higher than when we started several months ago.
Sure, because there is this like looming optimism, hope.
Yeah,
perhaps waning optimism and hope that a goal will be achieved.
Some people are definitely, I guess, a little more bent on clearing than other people. So you can tell who those people are.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Keep us posted. Definitely, continue to update us on your progress. We're all pulling for you, DJ.
Well, thanks. Yeah. Hopefully that is the last update before before we clear it, because like what else could possibly happen until then? Anyway, that's just been on my mind because it's been going on
still doing
forever.
This at the end of December. You got to buy Christmas presents for all these people. You got to send cards.
I'm like we gotta clear it before December, right? That's just unfathomable that we wouldn't have.
I don't have a relevant experience in my life, so I have no insight on what is reasonable in this situation. It's right. It is wild to me that a video game has continued to be this difficult to play, and you've just not quit already, because that's always my MO.
Oh, well, I just have a good time with it. But, I handle boss fights in video games and repetition, I think, better than you do.
Oh, undoubtedly. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, speaking of boss fights in video games, how did you like Cocoon?
I really like Cocoon. I that sort of like hesitation there notwithstanding, there are some things of it that I find quite frustrating, that are not, generally the way that I sort of process or play video games. I'm struggling with it here at the end, though. I've not been able to get across the finish line. Excuse me. And yeah, the ending is really kind of bringing the heat. But I'm enjoying it thus far. How about you? You finished it?
I finished it. Yeah. No, I loved it. I thought it was just amazing. Like you, I have some reservations about different parts of it, but overall, I thought it was just really, really good.
Yeah. It is. For the sake of our listeners who don't know what Cocoon is, this is a new game from. I think the gentleman's name is Yep Carlson. He used to work with Playdead and was one of the designers on games like Limbo and Inside.
Yes, that was my understanding.
Sound accurate?
Yeah.
And so this is a new game with a new studio that seems to be sort of born of a very similar perspective on video gaming as those two other games. It is kind of a deceptively simple approach. It's kind of, you use a thumbstick and you use one button interaction through the entire thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. It's really cool how much you can do with one button in a video game when it's sort of built this thoughtfully. The hook here, though, is that it's you're a weird little bug man. You're a little locust person.
You're the Mothman.
Are you a Mothman?
I don't know. That's what I've called him throughout the entire thing. I was just like, all right, Mothman, let's go do the next thing you got to do. The next Mothy thing.
Not the Mothman.
Well, you don't know.
But you're born at the beginning of the game, essentially. You are sort of like birthed into this weird kind of barren landscape. And from there, you're on the go. Kind of context-free, no tutorials, no voiceover, no dialogue. You're just kind of figuring it out. And you go from kind of weird, semi-natural areas to things that look like the inside of machinery or spaceships. All by way of these orbs, which are kind of an interesting sort of gaming proposition. The orbs have different colors, and the colors give them kind of different functions. They are sometimes batteries that can kind of power other abilities. The orbs themselves are also kind of a world into themselves, in that you can go into an orb, and there is a different place, a different perspective, different puzzles to solve, and kind of objectives to kind of intuit and figure out. The weird, this one of many weird things is that you can take an orb into another orb to give you an ability that you wouldn't have otherwise had in that version of the world. Sometimes it requires you taking 2 and 3 different orbs into a specific orb to be able to open a door, to get to another place, to do more things. And all of this is done weirdly, because it's like alien machinery. It's weird, like it's a weird shorthand of you sort of like trying stuff and going, okay, the green orb, I don't know, pick a thing, shoots electricity out of it. And I know if I put it on the pedestal, anywhere it goes, it generates electricity. So then you look for places that you can put the green orb to have that impact. But then you can also take a red orb inside the green orb, and it opens up a whole new doorway with other abilities, and it becomes quite this sort of like Inception salad of me trying to figure out, okay, where did I leave the blue orb?
Yeah.
Is that 3 worlds
exactly.
behind? Yes. Is it the one thing that's keeping the door open? And if I take the blue orb off the pedestal, it'll close the door and I can't do this objective anymore. It's a lot. I've spent no short of amount of time trying to figure out like what is even happening in this game.
Yeah. It's a miracle that you're able to keep anything straight for more than like 10 minutes at a time in this game. Like it starts out deceptively simple to the point where I just thought, well, I knew sort of the premise was that you have these nested worlds and these orbs, and you can like, put one orb into another orb. And I just felt like, oh, well, that's kind of cute, but it doesn't really, have a lot of bearing on anything you do in the game until later when it gets very complicated.
Yeah.
And you do have to do all of this nesting and like shifting orbs around, and sometimes you have to like, for lack of a better word, like sneak an orb into an orb from some other direction. And it's, like I said, it's a miracle that it works, because it just feels like at any given moment, I couldn't believe that I was able to keep everything straight and just keep track of like where I had left this orb and what the individual orbs even did. But I think that says a lot of the, like, just how well the game is designed, in that it makes it pretty easy to focus on where you're supposed to be going, and it really limits the amount of sort of like options or inputs that you have to deal with at a time, because like it does a good job about sort of closing off wherever you've been, or like if you've solved a puzzle, you're no longer able to interact with elements of that puzzle anymore. And in that way, it like eliminates what could have potentially been a lot of like red herrings, I guess.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Which is something I really struggle with in these games, because I'm just like, I'm always second guessing myself. I'm like, okay, do I go left or do I go right? But in this case, there would be like, yeah, I can't go left because the bridge going that way crumbled, and I'll never be able to go left again. So, very smart sort of like environment design that prevents a lot of sort of second guessing, I guess.
Right. And the thing that I sort of that's interesting that you sort of approach it that way, because that's I think the game is really good at sort of like telling you when you've done enough. It's time to move on.
Yes.
It does it in kind of a grand scale with these boss battles, which are really interesting. We can talk a bit about that, but that does give you some sort of finality to that area. And then you don't have, like you said, you don't have access to that anymore. The thing that I really kind of admire about it is that it, despite it sort of being kind of alien technology and there's no sort of like directions or push A to do this, you're just sort of figuring it out as you go, but you learn these things pretty quickly. You learn to be able to identify like alien mechanisms or unusual abilities that you will have if you can just combine elements correctly. So, there's things like there's a weird little like ball like on a stretchy, I don't know, like I always sort of feel like it's one of those, you remember the like rubbery hand you could like flick as a kid and it would grab a piece of paper? Yeah. It's kind of like that with a ball on the end, but it's essentially a joystick in the game. You can pull it to like unzip walls, or you can pull it sometimes like it's a video game controller almost, and it controls other things in the environment like a robot. So again, it's one of those things where you're sort of like, you come to a new area, and because you've played the previous areas and have interacted with everything you can kind of get your hands on, with this single button control, you quickly start to go, oh, I can probably touch that. Oh, that probably opens. And you build this sort of like understanding of alien technology over the course of the game that is quite surprising to me. By the end, it sort of like continues to drop these really kind of intense and sort of fast moving objectives at you, and you just sort of get it. You know what to do because you've done the stuff before, and it's only one button, right? It's not like you're trying to sort of figure out like, well, if I push B and then A and pull the trigger at the same time, none of that is relevant. The button only does one thing. So any context that you're in, it has to be that input. It's just a matter of sort of like making sure you're pointed in the right direction or that you have the right orb with you or et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's, and I'm not sure if this is making any sense at this point in my rambling, but I think it's really smart about the way that it continues to sort of layer kind of context and challenges on you. Because as you sort of process and retain all of that stuff, like any video game, honestly, you get better at it the more you do it. And you start to be able to sort of understand what's expected of you in some of these objectives, even though none of it would make sense from, a traditional video game setup.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that about it. It feels like, I don't know, like, what's another puzzle game that does this? Like, almost like in Portal, where you just, every chamber you run into has similar devices in it.
Sure.
And it's just different combinations of those devices that make up the solution. So every time you come into a new area in this, you're just like, oh, I saw this before, but this time it's like, slightly different, or there's this weird twist to it. But like, how to solve the puzzle. You just have to go about it in a slightly different way, which I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it, because the portal does what the portal does, right? And if it was just as easy as you sort of putting the out portal at the exit, you would do it, of course, right? But
yes,
that's not the objective. The objective is, how do you sort of exploit that? How do you break it a little bit to be able to kind of use physics to your advantage? That's not really a component of Cocoon, but it's this similar sort of like deceptive simplicity and what it's sort of proposing, that it's again, it's just this one thing, but how you kind of deploy it and where is the super secret surprise to it, I think.
Yeah, man, speaking of deceptive simplicity, I found myself just way overthinking so many of the puzzles in this.
Oh, really?
Did that happen with you?
I don't know. Do you have a for example? I'm not sure.
It'd be hard to describe it specifically, but it would just be like, like I said, all the puzzles after a certain point are all made of elements that you've seen before. So I'm just like, oh, okay, so the orb has to go on here, and I have to sort of like duck around this thing, and this is going to be so hard. How am I ever going to do this? And then it turns out the solution is just like, oh, you just have to push this button, and like that's it. It's like, oh, well, that was easier than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
But it happens so often. I feel like, there's so many different potential variables. Plus the whole thing with like nesting the orbs inside the other ones just makes it feel like every solution is just going to be like incredibly convoluted. But it turns out it's not. They're like, for the most part, pretty straightforward. So I don't know. It's just me making my life more difficult for no reason.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it necessarily sort of got to me in that way. The things that I sort of find myself doing is like trying to sort of understand what's happening, because none of it sort of like, what's my objective? Limbo Inside had sort of fairly clearish objectives. As surreal as both of those games were, there was an element of like, well, I need to survive. I need to get over the wall.
I need to walk to the right.
Right. I need to walk to the right. I need to make sure that I don't get, attacked by the dogs because I'll die, et cetera, et cetera. And there is still some element of experimenting and trying stuff out in that game, because there's a lot of weirdo, kind of particularly inside kind of alien things that are happening. I guess I don't quite understand what the objective in Cocoon is. Maybe you couldn't say, would you say that it sort of becomes clear at the end? But all I'm really sort of doing now is just opening doors. Like, I need a platform that gets to the next door, and then I need to get the right number of kind of keys, air quotes here, keys, to open that door, which then leads to a boss fight. And the boss fights are kind of just puzzle solving, essentially. To me, they feel like Zelda bosses, where you just have to learn the pattern. You have to, again, because you're just doing single button controls, you just have to sort of figure out how to like deploy the ability that you just got at the end of the last level to take down this boss, to get to the next area. And it's all sort of attacks in clusters of threes, essentially. They change up their attack for the third time, and you have to sort of get the timing right to avoid it. You never get a game over screen, which is kind of fun. It just sort of kicks you back to the previous orb. And you have to sort of thread your way back to the boss fight, but it's not super hard in that way. But yeah, it is me sort of trying to figure out like, what am I even doing? What's my motivation? I guess I'm not crystal clear on where this is going. And I've not seen credits roll yet, so maybe it becomes clear at the end. But it does feel like a lot of like...
Without spoiling anything, I don't know if it becomes clearer after seeing the ending, but I feel like it's one of those games where you're just supposed to be like, oh, is this what they were supposed to do the whole time? Is this what they were trying to do? Or, there's some discussion around it. But I don't know. I wasn't really in it for the story. I was just sort of like, oh, I like the whimsy of this little moth character. Like, carrying orbs around, and maybe something will come of it, but I imagine there was going to be a good chance that I would walk away from this in sort of the same way that I walked away from what was the recent game, Somerville?
Oh yeah,
where I was just like, oh, okay, whatever, I guess some stuff happened, and maybe if I played this a second time it would make more sense, but it wasn't really the draw for me.
Yeah. I mean, that said, Inside, which feels like it's a little more kind of easy to intuit what is happening, still has kind of the most bizarro finale.
Oh, yeah. 10 out of 10, the ending of that game. Of
like, what just happened? That was nuts. It was this weird right turn that I didn't see coming. And it's delightful for that. It's memorable in a lot of ways, for a lot of reasons, but that ending is just bonkers. You should play Inside. Have we mentioned that on the show before? That's a really good game.
I have friends who were like really struggling with that game, and I was just like you have to finish it, because I know the ending like 100% would resonate with them so well. And I'm just like, I don't think they ever finished it, because I never heard about it again, because I think they were just frustrated, but I was just like, oh man, it would all be worth it. You just have to trust me on this.
Yeah. Sit down. I will play it with you.
Oh.
But yeah, Cocoon never feels quite that focused to me. It never really sort of feels like, at least in the hours that I've spent up to the point that I'm at now, which I feel is pretty close to the end. It never sort of feels like I'm clear in what I'm doing, other than I know I have to open the door to go to the next place.
Yeah. It's weird because it never feels like you're doing sort of like this, like consistent things. I mean, you are doing consistent things because like you're operating on the same equipment and machinery and everything, but in every new area, it's not like, oh, I need to, here's how I solved the last area, so that's what I should be trying to do in this. It never really feels like there's an obvious thing.
Right. And it continues to throw sort of weirdo, surprising stuff at you. It's where you sort of like, you open a door and like alien tentacles come out of the sky on what looks like, a giant eyeball with wings, and they suck you up and fly you to the next step. You're like, what was that?
Yeah. Like whenever anything would happen in this game, I was just like, is that a good thing? Are those good tentacles? Are these good like monsters or creatures or whatever? Did I make a mistake? It's hard to tell.
Yes, and again, I continue to sort of compare and contrast with Inside, but one of the things that is sort of the most stressful about Inside is that you're constantly being pursued. There is always something in that game chasing you, trying to kill you, and even in the moments where you feel like you have sort of a break, and you have some cool new toy or some new piece of technology that you're kind of futzing around with, trying to solve an objective, there is still this sort of pressing feeling like this is all going to go sideways, and then something is going to try to eat me again. I like that in Cocoon, nothing quite feels that desperate. There is nothing that feels quite so horrible about your experience, or the way that sort of like your little Mothman is going about his day, that ever feels as intense as the darkest moments of Inside.
100% improvement over both those games. I'm just sick of dying over and over. Like even dying a few times in Somerville, which is I guess made sense. But I still found it frustrating. I just felt like we were past that.
Well, I mean, maybe we are now, because that's not a thing in Cocoon.
Yeah. I mean, the worst it gets is like you have to do the boss fight over, which is just like frustrating. I found it quite frustrating in a few cases, because some of those boss fights are quite long.
Yeah. But you know the pattern. When you go back to it, you know exactly how it's going to happen for the most part. You just have to sort of figure out where to stand when it does, right?
Oh, well, here's the other thing. On one of those boss fights, the one that I spent the longest trying to clear, I just, had sort of intuited the way to beat the boss as being like way more complicated than what you actually have to do. So I was trying to do like the most difficult method possible, and then I realized like, I wonder if I could just do this. Like, oh, okay, that worked, and that was much easier. So that was my fault. So I don't know why that keeps happening, but that's just been my experience with the game.
Mm. Yeah. So I love it. I think it's super cool. It defies me sometimes, but it is not one of those games like before where I sort of feel like, well, I'm just going to give up, because I do want to see how it ends. The reviews and talking to you have said it's not obscenely long, so I know I'm in the home stretch. You get a really good marker. I think it's cool. It's sort of like giving you an indication of like how close you are as well. Your start screen has pedestals on it, and as you defeat each of the bosses, the pedestal is sort of filled with like an outline of that boss. So you kind of know, well, there's only X number of pedestals, so that means there's X number of bosses. I'm getting closer. Plus,
it's funny because I never even went back to the start screen, so I didn't even realize something was changing.
Also, if you go into the load game option from the menu, it shows you your percentage of progress, and there's actually a timeline that you can kind of scrub through with little like 1% increments to go back to different points of the game. So it's really cool at being able to give you the ability to insight this as well, of go back through the timeline to sort of like look for other objectives, find some little secrets and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun and super approachable and a little replayable in that way.
Interesting. Is there more to do, like other than just the main path stuff in this?
I have heard on another podcast talking about the game that there is some stuff to do afterwards, that there are some side objectives. And by the end, you have some abilities that allow you to kind of go back Metroidvania-like and access some things and open some doors.
I
things
see.
like that you couldn't do before.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I encountered anything like that, but I also didn't like go back at all.
Oh, I definitely remember a few things where like I feel like this is important. This is a thing in the level that appears to be an obstacle or a switch or something that I don't have the ability to interact with right now. And I figured at some point I would come back to it, but the game has not taken me back to it yet. So I assume that's one of those things.
Okay, I think I know what
I'm
you're
being
talking
deliberately
about.
vague for the sake of our listeners, obviously. But
I remember that. I remember thinking like, okay, well, obviously I can't do anything with this now. And then I felt like I just like the game brought me back there automatically, or at least to a similar scenario. So I was like, we did it. So maybe I was not remembering correctly.
Or maybe you're just clearing it in line and I'm not.
I don't know. I mean, it feels very linear to me. Or at least my playthrough did.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to compare notes when I finish it, not if I finish it.
Right. Sometime in December.
I just have to finish it in 2023. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it a lot. It's super charming. It's wildly creative. It is surreal and weird. But there is some sort of brilliant like level design, gameplay ethos happening here that I am just full of admiration for.
Yeah. I'm just so amazed as somebody who doesn't make games, and like even if I was going to make a video game, I can't imagine it would be this style of like just infinitely nested puzzle game, because I can't even imagine how they could have designed this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a huge success. I think it's funny, like the comments around Somerville where they're like, don't call it, Inside, or don't compare it to Inside or Limbo, because it's not in either of those games. And it was pretty close to both of those games. Cocoon feels like it sort of in the same vein as those, but it really also feels like a departure from those two previous games.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a completely different perspective, and sort of it's a completely different what's the word, like kind of environment. Like there's certainly like a darkness and a creepiness to both Inside and Limbo, and a perspective that is kind of shared between those two games that Cocoon seems to have benefited from, but it doesn't look or really even play anything like those two other games.
Yeah, I mean, it feels similar, like gameplay wise. It's definitely a different perspective and everything, but like the whole like world nesting thing is such an interesting take on it that I can't remember any other game really doing anything similar.
Yeah, and in those two other games, you're really just running to the right.
Yeah, or to the left in Somerville.
Occasionally, yes, just to mess it up. Yeah. I gotta go back to Somerville. I played it like the weekend it came out, and it was super buggy on the Xbox. It was kind of all over the internet, and I'm like, well, it's not just me. I should play this again later after they patch it. I really should go back to that.
Should play it on the Steam Deck. And no issues with the Steam version.
Yeah, but it's on Game Pass, which I already pay for.
Oh, well. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Maybe they fixed that version at this point.
I believe they have, actually. I remember reading that too. So, but yeah, I'll have to squeeze that back into my list for the year.
Nice. I still enjoyed that game. I think Cocoon blew it open much more than Somerville did. Sort of the inside / Limbo formula.
Cool. So yeah, I did Cocoon. I'm excited to finish it, and maybe you and I can share secrets together.
Yeah. I think you're very close to the end.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I know what I have to do. And this is one of these sort of weird things you learn from the kind of the language of the game and the things that you do, is that there is an ability in the game for you to get a companion, a little helper that kind of flies around with you. Mm-hmm. And I know I need to find him. And you find him sometimes throughout the course of the game. He helps you. And then he becomes kind of an integral part of you being able to move on. And I'm at a point where I have the thing, like the unlock. I have the keyhole, essentially. I need to find the key. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think I'm solving the puzzles that get to him.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Does any of that rambling insanity mean something to you?
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Yep. So
I would always be like, it's like, I found your home. You need to go back to your home.
And you got to solve the little puzzle that sort of like births him, essentially.
Yeah.
Yep. And he sort of like cracks open like a little egg and becomes your friend and clears obstacles for you for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, don't go. I need you.
That was interesting because that was like the most that the game seemed to ever indicate where exactly you were supposed to go. Did you notice that he would like sort of blink in the direction you were supposed to head?
Oh, I noticed that he would like blink like an alarm if there was a danger.
Yeah. But no, he would like, he's got a little flashlight or whatever was going on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I knew. I don't think I made that connection. I realized that he was sort of turning into an alarm when there was something like imminent death, essentially.
Yeah, he does that too. But like, I noticed a few times when I was just like way off course, like you'd be shining the light in the opposite direction.
Oh, interesting. No, I didn't catch that. Oh, it's because I was never off course.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, that's the difference between you and me playing this game.
Check it every corner to make sure you're not missing some secret.
No, I'm just like confused on where to
go. Cool. Good. Please make more of these games. Like this has been a delight, and it's one of those things that I'm sort of like, I can't believe this is a product that exists. Like, how do you view the world that you can think of this?
I had a lot of questions similar to that while I was playing this.
So weird. Yeah. Cool. So we should talk about the cracked Nitro Deck as well.
Yeah, what is this cool gamer sounding thing?
It comes with a 6-pack of Mountain Dew.
A deck for cool video gamers.
Yeah. Have you ever thought the Nintendo Switch was too small and you wished it was bigger, like a Steam Deck? Do you wish it was a big hulking piece of plastic with a lot of buttons on it? And
you know what I have wished is that I wish I could play the Steam Deck not Steam Deck. I wish I could play the Switch in handheld mode without using the Joy-Cons, because those are the worst controllers ever designed. And what I ended up doing to solve this problem was I ordered, I can't remember the brand name now, but like those sort of like deluxe Joy-Con replacements. I know like Nyko had their versions for a while. But they're basically, it looks like you took an actual video game controller and just cut it in half and turned them into Joy-Cons. So I was using those for a while because that was sort of the controller experience I wanted.
Mm-hmm. And those sort of replace the Joy-Con. They slide onto the rails on either side.
Yeah, you just throw the Joy-Cons in the garbage after that.
So the proposition of the Nitro Deck, and this is sort of how it differentiates itself from that, is that it is an entire unit, like a single piece with a slot that the screen from the Switch sort of drops into and locks into. So you can't split these controllers into a left and right like a Joy-Con or like the device that DJ is talking about, because it is one fixed giant thing without just the brain and the screen of a Switch in it. And then you take your device and kind of slide it in there and it locks in, and then it becomes this big plastic toy that your Switch is sort of like living inside of now, and it replaces the Joy-Con controllers with much better controllers. I feel like much better sticks.
Yes, I think so.
The logline here is that they are Hall effect sensors, so you'll never get drift from them. They're magnetic, right, as opposed to the alternative.
Yeah, this is my first Hall effect controller, so I don't really know what to say about it. Like, they seem to work as analog sticks.
Yeah. I kind of appreciate that they're like real thumbsticks from like a real video game controller, like from the Pro controller for the Switch has sort of proper thumbsticks on it, as opposed to the Joy-Con, which are these kind of stout little short little nubbies. On the Nitro Deck, they're kind of real controller thumbsticks, and they feel much, they have the sort of the travel and the size of a real thumbstick. So I dig that. The layout's a little weird. I feel like the thumb on the right is a little low.
Well, it's the same as the Pro controller, right? Or similar, at least. It's lower.
It feels oddly low. Yeah. But still totally usable. I gamed for quite a bit with this thing. So yeah, it's still it has rumble. All of that stuff still works. You're not playing over Bluetooth anymore, which the Joy-Cons do. You're playing with a direct wired control. So there is you have to enable wired Pro controller functionality, and the USB-C port plugs into the bottom of your Switch screen as you're sliding it into the Nitro Deck. And you control that way. So you're actually not sort of transmitting anything. You're just doing a direct wired control. Mm-hmm. I'm not playing any sort of like Twitch shooters or anything like that on the Switch, so I don't know if that gets you any improved performance or faster gaming or anything like that. But again, it's one of those things that's sort of like guaranteed not to drift because there's no interference. You're not beaming anything.
Yeah. Man, I haven't done my Street Fighter test because this thing has a real D-pad on it, and that's usually what I do to make sure that it's legit. But to get back to you on that.
Oh, interesting.
Part of the reason that I was interested in this thing is that, as much as I like those like Pro Joy-Con things that I had, it just made the Switch feel just unnaturally wide, which is kind of hilarious. For whatever reason, it just felt very weird holding it in handheld mode, and never was especially comfortable. It also felt slightly like brittle, just because you have these like enormous Joy-Cons suddenly, and then still the Switch is basically like there's nothing really else supporting the Switch screen, so it's still the very thin sort of Switch tablet body with these enormous side controls. So it looks a bit like the PlayStation Portal thing, that thing that's coming out,
right?
Whenever that is coming out.
November or something, yeah.
So it always just felt like it worked well. It just felt awkward. But when I saw this thing, I thought, oh, well, maybe it would be more comfortable if it was all just a solid unit. Plus, it doesn't look quite as wide as the Pro Joy-Cons. So I decided to just take a flyer on this thing.
Yeah, it does. In addition to sort of like adding width and grippiness on the left and right hand side, it does add sort of body behind the screen. That has like a kickstand built in and stuff. So it adds heft to the entire unit. Yes. It feels very much like the Steam Deck.
I was going to ask you, like, is this what a Steam Deck feels like? Because the first time I put the Switch into this thing, I was like, oh no, it's a big boy now. What's going on?
It is a big boy. The deck is bigger. The Steam Deck is bigger. It's an even bigger plastic hunk. But the Nitro Deck is sort of approaching. You're in the ballpark. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels better than the big Joy-Cons that I had, although it's much, much heftier than any other sort of portable Switch incarnation up to this point.
Yeah,
I think it's borderline no longer a portable. It's quite large.
Yeah, and you can't dock it anymore. To be able to sort of dock your Switch, you have to take the screen out of the Nitro Deck, which is requires some doing. There's like a release on the back, and you really have to kind of grip the hell out of the screen and kind of like pull it out of its little cubby in the middle of the Steam Deck. I'm sorry, in the middle of the Nitro Deck.
Yeah. Not quite as elegant as the Switch dock, but I haven't had too many issues with it.
No, it could benefit from like an eject or something like that.
Because, yeah, that would be good.
I'm like getting super handsy with my my swollen screen, and I don't feel good about it. But if you're somebody who plays handheld all the time, and I'm mostly handheld, there's not a lot of reason to take it in and out and put it back into the deck over and over and over again. It's still pretty portable. You can get a version of the deck that comes with the Nitro Deck that comes with a case that is form-fitting for the size and shape and particular heft of the Nitro Deck. So that is an option as well. But the device itself is only $60. So about the price of a video game, essentially. And yeah, it does certainly add some more features and little bells and whistles, and certainly a much needed sort of more responsiveness and more reliability than the Joy-Con have been since launch.
Yeah, I haven't spent a whole lot of time with it. Like I said, I was traveling, so I didn't bring this with me. But for the most part, I enjoy it. I think it's an improvement so far over those enormous Joy-Con upgrades. At the moment, I don't even have Joy-Cons on the Switch anymore. I just put it into the dock if I want to play it in dock mode. And then, if I think I'm going to play something in bed, I have this on my sort of end table, and I'll just bring the Switch tablet in there and slide it in, and it works pretty well. I'm a little worried about dropping it on my face because it's it's not that heavy, so I might survive.
Yeah.
But that's it's a risk that we all have to deal with.
Pretty serious black eye, though, I think. Yeah, it's kind of programmable. It has an app that allows you to like scan a QR code or whatever on the back of it that tells you like how collectible your device is. There's a couple of different versions of it that look like sort of retro Nintendo color schemes and things like that. It tells you what number you are in the production run. So it's meant to sort of kind of like enhance the collectability if you're the type of person who would like multiples of this thing. But there's also elements of it that are sort of programmable. It has, I guess, sort of pinky and ring finger buttons on the back of the Nitro Deck that you can program to duplicate the input of any other button on the face of the Switch. They're also programmable in that you can put like macros on them to be able to sort of do combos and things like that. So that's kind of neat if you're the kind of player. Maybe there's your Street Fighter 6 who would use those kinds of things. It's a little lost on me playing Animal Crossing, obviously, but it's I guess a nice feature if you're hashtag hardcore gamer.
So you're playing Animal Crossing, set one of those to TurboCraft, because that will save you so much grief.
It's true. I just have to mass produce items in Animal Crossing with my Nitro Deck.
Yeah.
I like it. It's cool. It's a cool toy. It's kind of nice looking. It has a kickstand and stuff like that on it, so you still get to do all the kind of the Switch things that you want. If you wanted to, you could take your screen out and use it as a wired controller, although I'm not sure who that sort of use case is for. There are better wired controllers that you can use if you had to use a wired, or just use a wireless controller. But it's kind of a cool toy. I have to sort of say that mine has stopped working in the last 24 hours.
Uh-oh.
I was playing it in bed the other night. I was playing Cocoon with it, and it just stopped responding to button presses. I did a bunch of troubleshooting. I Googled it, and it took me to a Reddit thread where other people who have OLEDs are having the exact same problem, and have opened a ticket with Cracked to address it. I have done that now. I'm not sure if they're going to swap it or troubleshoot me or I don't know, making me feel like it's my fault. But I will update on the show as that progresses. But mine has suddenly become a little unreliable in the last day or so. But I'm not sure if that means there is some bigger inherent problem or if I'm just unlucky.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Hopefully that is just an OLED thing and I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, up to this point, I've been having a pretty good time with it. I just like the simplicity of dock the Switch here for, dock mode, I guess. Sounds redundant. And then I can just take it into my bedroom and dock it into something else if I'm going to use it in handheld mode. And I don't have to worry about, juggling Joy-Cons around anymore.
Yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it, is that essentially the Nitro Deck is a dock, right? It is, you have the dock that makes the Switch work on your TV, and this is the dock that makes it work in handheld mode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Rather than you slotting two Joy-Con onto the rails on the side of it, you're putting the screen into another dock. I guess I never really looked at it that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice if you're using the standard Nintendo Joy-Cons, because you can just leave those attached, whatever, to carry it wherever you want. But, if you're not a huge fan of those Joy-Cons, you need other solutions. So I think so far this has worked out pretty well.
Yeah. I feel like this would be kind of ideal for like marathon gaming sessions. Like the Joy-Con setup is not great for long gameplay sessions. It's not really sort of like built for the human hand, unfortunately. I think this gives you something a little more hefty and a little more kind of grabby.
Yeah.
To hold on to, that if you're trying to sort of marathon some, Zelda experience or something like that, that this would be much less fatiguing, I think.
Yeah, that was another thing about the Joy-Cons too. They just were not very comfortable for long sessions.
Cool. So yeah, this is the Cracked Nitro Deck. I ordered mine directly from Cracked. Did you find yours in a store somewhere, or did you order?
No, I think I did a direct order too. I mean, it's fairly new, so I don't know how many other stores are selling it other than going direct.
Yeah, there were some folks in the subreddit who were having the same issue that I was having, and they said they brought theirs back to the store. So the folks have found them in electronic stores somewhere. Yeah. Mine, I just ordered directly from them. The company is CRKD. It's this sort of stylized version of the word Cracked, but
yeah.
Check it out if any of this sounds appealing to you.
Yeah. So far, so good. That's my my review.
Yeah. Hopefully the customer service thing comes through, because that's going to be my my thumbs up or thumbs down at this point, because it's kind of a cool toy, but right now it's not really a toy.
Yeah. It's kind of a nice thing you can stick your Switch into for display purposes only. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well,
we did it. We made an episode.
We're back. They said it couldn't be done. We're going to wrap this thing up. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. Or you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join our Discord. You can hang out with us and chat about video games and other fun stuff. We had quite a few members of our Discord community at the Portland Retro Game Fest over the weekend, talking about the things that they were picking up and posting pictures of rare finds and asking people if they should buy certain video games that are obscenely expensive, but somehow very collectible. So if you're into retro games and chatting about such things, definitely join our Discord. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com.
One of these years I'm going to make it up there. It seems like a really good show. Plus, I'd like to go to Portland again. That'd be cool. Yeah,
I mean, it's a very cool city. It's and there's video game things happening. It's a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
Friendly reminder that November 4th is Extra Life. You can get all kinds of information about that on our website at VGHangover.com as well. We would love for you to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, anywhere else you can find us. Please like and subscribe and all that other fun stuff. And maybe help us out by telling your friends about the show.
Yeah, that really helps us get the word out and bring in new listeners. We appreciate it very much if you just recommend us to other people.
Yeah.
We want to give thanks again to Fear of Dark for our intro and outro music. If you'd like to hear more of his work, you can go to fearofdark.bandcamp.com and check out the rest of his discography, maybe buy an album or two. Make sure to do that before they burn the whole site down this weekend.
It's getting a little wild over at Bandcamp, so enjoy it while we have access to it. Yeah. And I don't want to end on a negative note, but I feel like we just did that. Hopefully Bandcamp hangs in there. We love that site.
Yeah.
I've spent a fair amount of money there. It supports a lot of really good artists directly, so definitely go to fearofdark.bandcamp.com and check out Fear of Dark's music and maybe throw him a few shekels.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Diggs. I promise we're going to be back next week. No more of these long breaks or anything.
No.
Get healthy.
Plus Spooky Sunday coming up.
That's true. Yeah. We'll be back. This is Randy Diggs.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.